partidei. Delgado acolo este, va fi corner, dragi ascultători.
Okay, after Hood. Once again, back is the incredible, rhyme animal, uncannibal D, Public Enemy #1, 5-0 said freeze, and I got none. Welcome back to It Ain't Broke. It's probably Monday, it's probably 3 p.m. if you're in England or Val Verde or anyone that shares British summertime. Otherwise, you might be watching it in your own time. If so, fuck you. Tune in live next time. Get out of here, don't waste my time. I'm joined today by Duncan Rule. In the day of Duncans, there's a Duncan behind the camera, there's a Duncan to my left.
Duncans everywhere.
It's lousy with Duncans today. Absolutely lousy with Duncans. We are here to talk about George A. Romero's 1978 horror zombie classic Dawn of the Dead, which I made a little display for. Big topic for us, right? This is we're zombie fans, so you're
a bit of a sacred cow, isn't it?
It's very much a sacred cow. It's the one. This is a good one for you and I because it's a nice. It's a bridge from what we just did because this has links, very strong links to kind of giallo Italian horror scene with Dario Argento, who helped get this made and had his own version. Yep. The version I have here is like the 4-disc set, which has 3 different cuts of the film.
Super duper, every single cut of it.
It doesn't have there's some 9-hour long Japanese cut, and there's all kinds of wonky versions. But so this has the US theatrical cut.
The 3 main ones.
The 3 main, yeah, exactly. US theatrical extended and Dario Argento. So, for those of you not in the know, it is essentially a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. Yep. It doesn't feature any characters. It kind of, that's what's kind of interesting between this Dawn and Day. It advances the time frame, but it doesn't. It's not about the characters. Yeah. Like Night of the Living Dead's about the night it happens. Dawn of the Dead's about the kind of middle, and Day of the Dead's about when it's kind of over. Yeah. So this is where the world comes crashing down. What is your experience with Dawn of the Dead? How and when did you watch Dawn of the Dead?
How and when did I watch it? Well, I mean, so I think I've talked in the past about how I got into kind of horror films, really, which was around probably late 90s. It was whenever James Furman left the BBFC and they started releasing a lot more stuff. So I saw Texas Chainsaw, the original one, on Channel 4, I think it was, and I was like, holy shit, this is good. Never really watched any horror movies prior to that. And then it wasn't long before I discovered zombie movies. I think the first one I watched, though, probably was Zombie Creeping Flesh. Lucia Fulci. I think that's where I came in. Obviously, 5 minutes afterwards, you're going to find out about Dawn, because that's kind of, I'd say it's probably the most important zombie movie ever. Not the first, but in terms of
agreed. People talk about like White Zombie with Bela Lugosi, which is tenuous, and then Night of the Living Dead is very important. Yeah, but this is kind of like the blockbuster.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the gulf between like Night and what came after that versus Dawn, and
when I say blockbuster, I don't mean blockbuster in the traditional sense. I'm talking blockbuster in the zombie world, because this is still a kind of independent film, and we'll get into that because I think it very clearly feeds into the style of this film, and it's in the style of the filmmaking.
Yeah, but so I discovered it fairly early on in my kind of horror career. Although I think I might have watched Day first.
Oh, you lucky bastard!
I can't quite remember, but yeah, and it was definitely one of those ones where everybody's like, you need to watch this. So
well, this was on BBC Two in the late 90s.
Oh, okay. So I never saw it on telly. I think I picked up a DVD. At some point.
They made kind of a fuss about it being on BBC Two, and I saw the trailer and I was kind of like, what the fuck is that? Because it was all, to me as an idiot child, it was kind of like, look at their stupid 70s clothes and stuff like that. But it had a kind of really spooky atmosphere though, regardless. The promotion for it was kind of like a bit spooky, and it was like, oh, what's this? And my brother being, my older brother, I owe him so much in terms of getting me into movies, and he taped it. Right. And then we watched it over like maybe 2 successive lunchtimes, because we used to go home for lunch from school.
What you're saying,
yeah, and then just suddenly like, well, he's the one that led the way on that, but we just got obsessed with it. It's just kind of like, because it was like having dreams about zombies, and then like think about what you would do. I ended up going on like a zombie website for ages, like a fan page and shit, like in the late 90s. And I was just kind of blown away by, this film has a lot of scale.
Yeah, it really
for something so cheap. I mean, it's quite astonishing, really, how much they wring out of it.
Yeah, it's definitely the most ambitious of the kind of original Romero trilogy, for sure, isn't it?
It's the highest concept one.
Definitely, yeah.
Because you end up with this insane cast at the end, where there's like probably a good 100 people running around like tons of extras between
They
probably reuse it. They reuse people back and forth, but like there's
It certainly doesn't show though, does it, when you're watching it? Like,
well, yeah, and there's a kind of if you watch the kind of the supplementary materials, which of course I have obsessively, I'm sure you have as well. There's a crease in the spine, the crease in the spine. The end section, so the third act, where the zombies over on the mall and they fight the bikers and all those pieces. The way they say it, it's not necessarily true, but the way Romero and stuff they talk about it is that they just let that happen in that mall, and then they run around like war photographers just cameras
shooting off at the hip.
So various film units running around the mall with walkie-talkies. And they even say, like, when we were shooting, we thought we'd be able to coordinate, we just couldn't. It was just too nuts. So we were just running around getting what we could.
Yeah, I mean, it is very chaotic on the screen, isn't it?
It's madness. Like, there's shit that's going on. Like, and then there's all these wide shots of all of these zombies in the mall. And this is, someone let them shoot in their mall. And it's like, oh, well, we're going to, like, ride cars and motorbikes inside your mall.
I mean, that's nuts, isn't it? Every time I watch this, I'm like, they're just pissing about with the stock, like, taking stuff off. The bit where the bikers are, like, smashing things up.
Smashes a TV with the hammer and shit.
More importantly, he throws a tiny TV into a bigger TV. Which is my favourite part of the whole movie.
It's kind of satisfying.
What are you going to watch of them, man? I don't know.
I don't know. It's sort of like I just find the imagery of toilets being destroyed very funny. And if you were to show me a urinal being thrown at a standard sit-down toilet, I just think that's a funny thing.
That's interesting, because that's one of my favourite things. Like, if on YouTube there's like
we've talked about this before.
Subsection, isn't there, of like exploding toilets, which is just the funniest thing ever.
That's the kind of stuff that me and Duncan will talk about, is exploding toilets.
Particularly if the seat stays put and the bowl just gets destroyed. There's one where it blasts open. Anyway.
Just a quick sidebar. If you get a bit of toilet roll, but not too long, and put one end in the toilet and then flush it, eats it like spaghetti.
That's great.
Anyway, George A. Romero's horror classic Dawn of the Dead. This is a very ambitious script, and it undertakes, quite an intimate story, because it's between 4 and then 3 and then 2 characters.
Yeah.
So there's the central cast is smaller than Night of the Living Dead to begin with. It's smaller than Day of the Dead to begin with. But everything else is kind of really writ large. So it's so basically, and if you look at it, for the most part, the lighting's really flat. It's kind of slightly soap opera-ish lighting.
It is, isn't it? It's got a really flat look pretty much the whole way through.
Pastel colours as well. And there's a reason for it in that, and again, it's something George Romero talks about. It's like, basically, they were shooting in this mall at night in winter.
Right.
So it was shit conditions. So they were only allowed there at night, basically.
Yeah.
And they had to run around this mall covering things really quickly. So flat light setups. So the whole thing's the whole production of this film is really guerrilla. It's like a really guerrilla movie.
Just because they were so pressed for time, it was just
time
get,
and money,
it, get it done.
Get it done. So I think the only kind of times where there's any kind of noticeable lighting. So remember when the security guard zombie is in the plant room with Stephen's fumbling around with the revolver.
There's
kind
of shadow there.
Shadow. I think when the Buddhist zombie comes, there's some kind of creative lighting there. But
earlier on as well, when they're in the basement of that tenement block, the priest comes out. They've got something going on there.
Stuff like it's good you brought that up, right? Because there's stuff like that in Dawn, like. And another thing, I keep dropping this. It's not really trivia; it is relevant. But again, it's really famous for this kind of tomato ketchupy blood.
Yeah.
But that's something that was by design because he wanted it to look like a kind of 4-colour comic book.
Yeah.
He wanted flag, and it looks goofy as shit when you watch it. And like when blood's on people, it does look like just red paint.
Yeah, there's a bit when Roger gets bitten. In the truck, so he kind of looks down at his trousers. It just looks like he's been decorated. It's just got red paint all over.
Really tastelessly decorating a red room somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that that was intentional because to me, every time I watch this, that's one of the little bugbear of mine. It's just how bad the blood looks.
It took me a while to get over it, but when I heard it justified, I was kind of like,
yeah. I mean, it's nice to know that it wasn't just they just bought some paint.
Yeah, exactly. They've been down to B&Q. Yeah. Just like, no, it was all kind of that was by design basically. So right. that was.
Does the same thing apply to the zombies as well? Because my mate back in there used to describe the zombies in Dawn as just being covered in grey dewlux, and that's kind of
yeah, it's the same thing. So basically, they had so it's Tom Savini and crew, and I think it's Tasso Stavrakis as well, and it's a army of zombies, and quite often things kind of have staged makeups for the hero zombies and stuff.
Yeah.
They had so many, and they needed so many. And they talk about it. It's just grey paint, grey paint. and that's it. And there are some hero zombies so at the airport zombie that has become, the zombie.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of ones in the mall with fucked up faces that have got applications on, but for the most part. Just to digress, because I was going to a point, but I got derailed by decorating paint. Sorry. No, not at all, because it's important and it's relevant to the point I was going to make. There is some dark, pitch black stuff in this that it kind of gets away with because of the way it looks. So like that's seen in the basement and it's cut quite heavily in some versions. Yeah. It's like the heroes that we've just been introduced to. Firstly, Peter has to kill another SWAT team member. So the first thing you see is society falling apart, and he kills Wooly. Wooly's gone apeshit! He kills Wooly, which is fucked up, and then they're both kind of him and Roger are kind of in trouble, and they go down to the basement, and this priest has given them the last rites and stuff, and then they walk around, all the dead people wrapped up, they're eating bits of bodies, and they walk around and fucking execute them with a pistol. Yeah. And in the extended version, you watch them do it, and it's all kind of blood sprays and stuff, and because it looks cartoonish.
It goes on for a long time as well, doesn't it? So you might.
If you did that if that looked like Day of the Dead, it would be really fucking upsetting. Like, it's really dark.
It's a good point, actually. I never thought about that, but yeah.
It's pitch black, but you kind of, because it's got this kind of comic book tone to it. Yeah. It kind of.
And also at the place where they stop off to refuel the helicopter, he has to kill 2 children, basically.
That's another thing that's often cut. Yeah. So there's a thing.
Like 2 little kids.
They're rattling at the door, so he shoots at head height. And then he goes up to the door and then he fucking shoots. And Ken Free as well. I actually think the central cast in this are really fucking amazing.
Yeah, definitely.
Ken Free, like you see it on his face what he's just done. It's fucked up. Like, but again, and then the kind of Frankenstein zombie comes out, and you sort of the flat top helicopter, and you kind of forget. And I know that's they just did the best they could with that one. It's not. There's no kind of artistic choice for him having a flat head. That's any way they can make that effect work.
Which kind of adds to it like a comedic element to it, doesn't it?
But then the film does have loads and loads of deliberate comedy.
Yeah, that's true.
Because in terms of its tone, it carries away. I think you might say that it veers sometimes, but I think it keeps that kind of baseline because it goes off in these different directions, but it's all held together by its kind of look and its mood.
Yeah. Actually, in preparation for this, I re-watched because I've seen the movie loads of times, but I hadn't watched it for a while. So I thought I'd watch the Dario Argento version because I've never actually seen it.
Oh right, okay.
And that removes a lot of the comedy, doesn't it? There's a lot of them. I mean, it's not all gone like the bit when the bikers turn up and they're splatting custard pies in the zombies' faces. That's still in there, but a lot of that stuff's taken out.
It's a lot more action focused.
And in fact, the helicopter zombie's not in there, is it?
No,
that's been removed.
No, so Argento entered into this with Romero, and he took him out to Rome, I think it was, so he could write it because he wanted there to be a sequel to Night of the Living Dead, and George A. Romero was still producing with his then wife Christine Romero, so they went out to write it and stuff. And when all the rushes came back and stuff, he had his own idea, and it's like his version, which was then called Zombie. It was going to be out in Europe, so his cut. I don't like his cut as much. It's interesting. It's one of these things that was legendary for years, in that you had to try and find it. And then I imported this Region 1 15 years ago or something, and watched it, and it's fine. It's great, but it removes a lot of the heart. I think it's just.
I did enjoy it, but I think maybe it's just because I've just.
Oh, it's still great. It's still. But
I don't know. But when I say enjoyed it, I mean I might prefer it. I don't know.
Oh really?
I guess just I don't know. My taste in zombie movies are more the sort of bottom of the barrel stuff, and it is definitely like. You're right. It's like the US cut is like the thinking man's version.
And that's Romero's favourite as well.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Both versions are great, and I've only seen it with the once, so I don't know. But I did enjoy it. I like the pace of it. Yeah. Because there are some parts in this movie that I feel can drag a little bit.
So there's the extended cut.
Yeah.
The extended cut is leaden.
Yeah.
It starts to fucking get slow. And the thing is, I used to sort of love the extended cut when I was younger. And
because it's the most amount of...
Well, it's because the biggest... Exactly, yeah. It's sort of like fucking kids just... Well, I like this because there's more of it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's the one I used to like when I was showing people this film, I'd show it to them and they'd fall asleep and I wouldn't know why. And then as an adult, I'm like, yeah, man, it's bloated. There's way too much fucking going on in here. But I read somewhere, I remember, because it seems that Romero was a real kind of editor. Like, that is a real skill that he had. And I read somewhere that this Dawn of the Dead on average compared to films of the time has 4 times as many cuts in it.
Really?
Per like minute or per average.
Okay.
And this is very much a film that's found in editing, because if you just watch how many versions there are of it, you can see that it's been pulled together from all these different sources.
Definitely.
You can make your Argento version or your extended version. I swear, God, I might be making it up. There was either a German or a Japanese one that was like 3 hours long or some shit.
They literally used every single piece of footage they had available.
Yes, just bunged in end to end.
But that's kind of the main thing with the Argento cut, isn't it? It's just shorter. It's a bit more action packed.
Yeah.
You see some boobs in it.
Yeah.
That are shadowed out. In the US version, that's kind of it, really, isn't it?
That's kind of it. Yeah. It's got that's its European sensibility.
Yeah, basically, that sums it up, doesn't it? That one shot of Franny in the bed.
Fran's boobs. Yeah. I really like. I think Galen Ross's performance in this is really great. I mean, it should be kind of up there with Ellen Ripley and stuff like that.
Yeah, she's great in this. Yeah.
And she's pregnant as well, and she's increasingly pregnant, which helps establish the timeline. And there's a fucking discussion about abortion and shit. Like there's like bombing major cities, abortion, fucking these scenes of execution. Like it's really fucked up. But then it's sort of like, okay, cast a pie in the face.
It's true, actually. It totally distracts you from all that darkness.
That's the thing. And it smuggles this stuff right through because it's all part of it. It's all goofy. But if you look at what's going on, and just I love the opening as a portrayal of society in decay.
Yeah, the opening's brilliant, isn't it? It's one of those things in a lot of movies you'd think would be a sort of short piece, but it keeps going for quite a long time. Whether it's in the station, and it's just unraveling, doesn't it? And
so good, isn't it? It's that whole so you got George and Christine Romero
on the desk,
at the desk, and it's got. I mean, one of the things that always strikes me about this film is because it opens on music by Goblin, of course. Yeah, it's a combination of Goblin's original music and a shitload of library tracks.
Yeah. Which I used to have a CD of all the library music.
I have that as well
with the yellow cover.
With the yellow cover, it's upstairs. I got the Goblin one. I got the library track one. Yeah. There you go. Kind of cobbled together. Goblin, of course, did tons of Argento stuff. And Giallo. Things just keep falling over in here.
In the Argento version, it's pretty much almost entirely Goblin music, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely.
There's a few bits, like I think the scene with the rednecks, shooting all the zombies. I don't think.
Oh man, it's like
some sort of weird banjos.
I can't remember that song. That's one that I can normally just for some reason kind of hillbilly songs in movies I can do. It's like Benson, Arizona, the warm wind in your hair, Dark Star, guitars, Cadillacs, hillbilly mute, Terminator 2. But I can't do the Dawn of the Dead one.
I can't remember what it is now, but
it's still something about drinking beer. Oh, 'cause you're a man. 'Cause you're a man. It sounds like a fucking Trey Parker song. Like it's got this real Trey Parker vibe to it. And you can't really talk about this stuff. You can't talk about Dawn of the Dead without the kind of. It's very clear, incisive commentary on the state of America at that time.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, the thing of it's. I think it's different in 1978. If you did it now, people would say being thunderously unsubtle, but it's about zombies in a shopping mall. Yeah. If you go to the shopping mall, you are a zombie. So there's a great shot of the zombie trying to eat a bottle of perfume. And stuff like that, and just the sort of just the
way they're milling around in there. It's basically you could have that next to actual shoppers. It's the same thing.
Yeah, because they're just there. What is it?
They go there because they remember. They don't know why.
They don't know why. They just remember. Yeah. It's so full of great dialogue and monologues and stuff. Because no more, when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
The most iconic line.
From Keenan's dad.
Keenan's dad.
Keenan's dad.
Nick.
Dawn of the Dead on Nick.
That was the first thing I ever remember thinking about Dawn of the Dead when I watched it. I was like, isn't that Dad off Keenan and Kel?
So I saw him in an episode of Due South, That's the Way I'm Going, when he turned up in that, and there's a bit where he made a landmine out of a tuna can.
Was he like in the wilderness, like Rambo or something?
Yeah. It's about a guy who's gone native, or well, not gone native. He's in the wilderness making tuna can tin. He's like a Navy SEAL or something. I don't remember.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he turned up in that because he's one of these people. Because he does, Rob Zombie obviously started using him and shit. And he does stuff like that, and he's a big kind of horror circuit guy. But because like Scott Reiniger and Cam Free, Galen Ross, and David MG.
However you say that.
He looks a lot like. Me and my bro used to say that he was Hugh Laurie because he looks way like Hugh Laurie. And when he's zombie, the two principals, spoilers for Dawn of the Dead, so like fucking 40-year-old film.
If you haven't watched it, we did. But
two of the finest zombie performances ever are Roger Zombie and Flyboy Zombie.
Yeah, Flyboy zombie's great, isn't it?
Fuck, it's horrible because he's
His
sort
foot's
of like
folded over like that. And he's walking
he does
on
that, and he kind of and the gun
gun's
on his
like
finger.
dangling, yeah.
He talks about his process on the DVD, and like he's like, well, I figured he'd been injured here and injured there. So like when he's leading that pack of zombies, he completely outclasses them because I think he was a theatre actor, but.
Right.
Yeah, he kind of like has all these wounds and stuff, and his death is he sells that death so well. There's like a bit where he's up on top of the lift and they shoot him.
Yeah, that you can feel that, can't you, when you watch it? That's proper.
It's all in his
nasty.
face, and the blood kind of goes up.
Yeah,
which is probably just like
because they shoot a few times, don't they? They all whiz past him, and that last one just clips him. That's really good though.
There's all those zombies like come in the lift and get him. I mean, it's fucking horrible. And Roger as well. Roger gets about 20 seconds as a zombie.
Yeah, but it's great.
Fucking
it's like
horrible.
Nosferatu or something, isn't it? It's like proper old school.
And the way he's just kind of like Peter's just kind of sat with him.
Yeah.
And waiting for him to drink a bottle of Jack, sat there with a pistol.
Yeah.
Waiting for him to. Oh, it's horrible. And I think that was. So that's more kind of hero zombie.
Yeah, because he's kind of all sort of gaunt looking, isn't he? And his eyes are.
Yeah, so that's kind of dried tissue paper and makeup. So he's all shrunken and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is really powerful, and he does this great kind of. Because what I always liked about that as well, when he sits up, his mouth moves like he's about to speak.
Right.
It's just this. I don't know if it's intentional, but it's just this horrible detail because obviously Roger's just waiting to shoot.
Yeah.
Peter's just waiting to shoot him.
It's almost like this remembered behaviour thing, isn't it? Because when what is the other Flyboy, when he comes up, he comes through the door and he shuts it behind him. When he comes, even though there's all these other zombies behind him on the stairs, I always thought that was like a cool.
And of course,
like it's just what he's been used to.
He leads them there as well.
Yeah.
You know, they remember. They don't know why. They just remember. Was it? He goes, we're thieves and we're bad guys. That's exactly what we are. Like, this movie's not quoted enough. The script is amazing.
It's
really
a
fantastic.
Script,
there's full of goofy stuff again. Like there's a bit where there's a perspective for the binoculars, and it's just like a bit of black card stuck to the camera.
And all the shots where you see where they're like looking down the scope of that gun. There's just something amusing about the way it looks.
There's some great kind of some of the effect stuff in this. So, I mean, one thing I saw when I watched this as a kid, I was like, I've never seen so many people being shot in the head.
Yeah, like pretty much every shot is a headshot in this movie, isn't it?
Well, I read a thing, one of Savini's techniques for, Savini is the master magician of effect
He
show.
also stars in the movie.
Yes, of course,
like
plays Blades.
Cameo,
Plays Blades, yeah, really great villain turn.
With his little flick comb for the tash.
And I think that's Pasquale Buba is the other guy. Anyway.
Oh, right, yeah.
But Blades, great character, and he kind of reprises that in Land of the Dead, but less said about that the better for the time being.
Yeah.
Great kind of villain turn by him, of course, did the effects. One example of the kind of stuff that's going on here, because they had like a zombie factory, and the classic thing in Romero movies is people come from around Pittsburgh to come and be zombies.
Yeah.
And you get a signed dollar from George, and that's the thing. So shitloads of headshots, and one of the methods is it's a little bag of blood with a button in it, and there's a fishing wire kind of ligament coming off it. That's mortician's wax to your head.
Right.
So imagine you've got this just smooth head with a bit of fishing wire coming off it. That's off camera. You've got like a blood bag or whatever behind. So when the gunshot happens, you pull it, leaves a perfectly circular hole, blood dribbles down your face.
And it all happens at once.
All in one go, yeah. All in one hit. So and there's no. I think the closest thing you've got to any kind of compositing for the most part is like when Frankenstein head zombie gets the top of his head taken off. Obviously, there wasn't an actual spinning helicopter, because that would be mad. Like you would actually kill someone.
Yeah, we think this prosthetic's high enough. Just get under there.
Yeah, that's the Lloyd Kaufman.
We'll find out if it's wrong.
It's just kind of like we'll get another beardy guy.
Forget about that Twilight Zone movie.
That hasn't come out yet, so it's fine. But anyway, the time John Landis killed someone. It's a couple of frames of animation to show the helicopter blades, and then the top of his head. It's like an animated, like rotoscoped, I think.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And it just adds up to this. It's kind of like an action epic, I think. It's got a great emotional core. I think the main thing in the film, the main kind of section of the film is the second section, really, because the point of the film is, actually having everything you want if you don't have other people is hell.
Yeah.
So it's this kind of like beige purgatory, really.
Yeah.
Because
they're in the best place you could possibly be in that situation, but it's just boring as shit.
There's that really downbeat musical montage where
Yeah.
they just start to lose their minds, and like Fran's sitting around in a big
She's
fur
tightening
coat
herself up
and-
like that. The mannequin head with this gun. Like,
Yeah, and you've got the mall announcements. There's a bit where Peter and Stephen like take the money out and
Yeah,
stuff. And none of it
yeah.
means anything. And quite a lot of those images are repeated at the end where they're being like just trampled on by zombies or just
Yeah.
kind of thrown away or whatever. And that kind of middle section about how this is kind of it's kind of like a cozy purgatory. And it's kind of, the 1970s aesthetic was kind of in beiges and browns, which really kind of helps when you look back at it because it's got that real, and the gonk, like the mall music.
Obviously, I wasn't around in the 70s, but to me, watching this is one of the most 70s looking bits. What I imagine the 70s to look. There's something about it, and even like a lot of the items you see and stuff like that's one of the interesting things about it being filmed in like a real mall. Is it's an authentic snapshot of like shopping at that time.
As a
what I
time
mean?
capsule.
A lot of it's quite weird. Some of the stuff that's in there is bizarre. If you watching it probably through English eyes or whatever as well.
Well,
But,
yeah,
like,
true.
This huge gun shop full of all this stuff, and there's just a
Well,
lot of odd stuff like.
Well, my mum's got some of those horrifying 70s recipe books around where it's
Yeah,
sort of like bananas and ham and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
All the surviving stuff in the 70s is always to do with cooking, isn't it? It's like some pots or something.
It's like, what the fuck? What got into the water? What fucking gas leak caused these motherfuckers to want to eat this shit? Like, I keep meaning. I think for one of me and Duncan Casey's live streams, I should try and get one of my mum's horrifying 70s recipe books.
I think you should.
Because this is the most 70s film I can conceive.
Yeah, definitely.
Say what you like about Saturday Night Fever, and this does look much like Night of the Living Dead. This, for completely different reasons, has a real documentary quality to it.
Yeah,
and simply
yeah.
because of the guerrilla style and the flat lighting and
Yeah,
the
and there's no sets. Well, there's probably a few sets, but it's shot in a real place.
very,
at
very
that
few,
time.
if any. I mean, I think it's nearly all locations, as far as I know. I like to think I'm quite knowledgeable about this one, but
Yeah, I wasn't sure about like the basement that we were talking about earlier.
yeah, I mean, because it's a Romero film, it feels kind of guerrilla. So I don't know, maybe it is a set for that one. I'm very sorry. Well, I kind of feel like we've bitten off more than we could chew with this one.
Yeah, I mean, you could talk about Dawn of the Dead for like hours, couldn't you? Really?
I think for us as individuals, this is a big
Yeah.
topic, you know,
Yeah.
and trying to get it down into a half-hour format is quite difficult. But
Yeah.
I'm glad we had a fucking go.
Yeah, we had a crack at it. We didn't slag it off, so hopefully no one's going to get too upset.
I wouldn't dream of that.
Well,
got-
it's a
you
brilliant
got-
movie. So
Got to acknowledge its weaknesses. It works best in its more compact form, I think it's its most meaningful form.
yeah, definitely.
And yeah, it's got shortcomings, of course, but like ultimately, I think as a story and as its kind of metaphors and its situations and its ideas, it still works.
Yeah.
And I don't care what any fucking kids think. All right, well, fucking right. Well, that's it. Fuck off. Go home. No, I didn't sleep very well last night, so I'm just having a weirdly confrontational episode. I just open up by telling people to fuck off. We are on Twitch, but we don't really use that so much anymore. We use YouTube Gaming for our live streams. We are live streaming this shoot to our Patreons for everyone on the $3 and above perk, so you can watch us fart around and eat lunch. I got my bum out earlier. Patreon.
In other words, you need to donate.
PayPal.
You might get to see Richard's arse in a future episode.
My bum. Redbubble merch. It's all in the description. You might be able to see my arse in the future. Duncan is not promising his arse because he's a guest and there's no obligation. But if you'd like to get your bum out on a live stream, you can.
All right. See how this goes first.
I'm not an autocrat. I think anyone can come and get their bum out on this show if they want to. That's it. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you again next time for the next thing. It will be I don't know what it is. So goodbye.
Bye.
Support your 7th or 8th favourite YouTube channel by buying crap, tat, junk, hogwash and filth at redbubble.com/people/Val Verde Shop.